Got a submission here from B3Ast. Boys, I have a problem. After a roll, the quad is crazy, but picks up after that in a second or so. Here's a log. Let's see if I can help. So we're going to look at the roll axis. And the first thing I should do is I should look at your gyros and see what's going on there. But I'm not going to. Let's live dangerously. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at your roll axis in general and get a sense for what's going on. So I'm specifically going to look at your P-term, your P-gains, your P-term, and see what I see. And I see that as soon as you arm and your motors start moving, we're barely going anywhere, but we've already got oscillations in the P-term starting. So here, and now you're definitely pumping the throttle some. I'll just play this back at real speed. So you're pumping the throttle some. So okay, we're getting some oscillations. You're pumping the throttle. Here you go to full throttle, really, yeah, like legit full throttle, oscillations. Okay, now granted, you're probably doing this intentionally, like, I don't know, maybe you're trying to bring out the bad effect, but it stands out. We definitely have full throttle oscillations, strong oscillations at full throttle. Here you're just flying. Doesn't look so bad now. This looks okay. This is probably prop wash, I'm guessing. I don't have high def video, but see how your throttle's real low, and then you're probably, so you're falling now, right? And now you catch yourself, and here's prop wash, boom, real strong oscillation again. So for me, I can't see your high def video, but I would probably reduce my roll P gain, or maybe try to play with my roll D gain to see if it can tame the P a little. Your roll D looks pretty docile. It is, magnitude is very small. So far, obviously when P starts flipping out, D gets active, but D is relatively docile. So maybe you could raise D a little bit to help tame some of this. You get more oscillations than I would like, but if you're happy with how it flies, then more power to you. Here we're going to do a roll. We see the P term go all the way off the bottom, so that indicates that you are using Acro plus mode. And that means that during the time of extreme stick deflection, we can't interpret, we just kind of have to ignore what's happening here, because that's not actually, the PID sum is being sent to the mixer, but the mixer is ignoring it, depending on how much Acro plus you have dialed in. The mixer just sends outputs to the motors, not paying attention to the PID sum when the stick is deflected. And as you begin to return the stick to center, and you return it to center pretty quick, the P-term wildly reverses. The gyro, there's this huge bounce back right here. Huge bounce back. So the gyro here, as the gyro begins to descend and the P-term climbs, yeah, what's happening? The gyro is descending. It means your move is slowing down. At this moment where the gyro hits the 0 axis, that's where your copter has stopped. And now as the gyro line continues to the other side of the axis, the copter has turned around. So this was a right roll. At this moment, the copter is actually rebounding and coming back to the left. And the P-term is trying to fight it. Notice that we have a motor maxed out here. So the P-term is trying to fight it, but this motor is maxed out. And that means whenever any motor maxes out, you run out of authority. Let's look at your motor traces. Oh, I didn't do anything there, did I? Let's look at your motors. Notice that here we've got this motor maxed out, pulling you into the move. That's kind of to be expected because we have Acro Plus. Basically, at full stick deflection, the motors are just like, yeah, let's go. Just go crazy. I see. No, that's slowing you down. Sorry, guys. You're returning the stick here. That is actually slowing you down. But it is not the PID sum. Yeah, into the move. Yep, left motor spin up, push you into the move. Now the copter is just spinning, basically. Right as the stick returns, right motor spin to full to slow you down. And now the bounce back. This motor maxes out. notice that as soon as the stick starts to leave full deflection, these motors spin up to slow the move down. And they spin up very rapidly. And I'm not sure how Acro Plus is working its magic, so it's a little tough to interpret this. And they go to full deflection to slow it down, or a full throttle to slow the copter down, and then that's too much. Yeah. Also, notice that the P-term here is opposing the move, which is being ignored because you're in that Acro Plus section. Yeah, and then I'm guessing that as soon as you're exiting the Acro Plus, as soon as the stick starts returning from full deflection, Acro Plus takes less effect, and the PID sum kicks back in again. The next thing I wonder is, what is your actual rotational rate? And we can get that from the, where is it? The gyro, there we go. 900 degrees per second. It's, so you're spinning pretty fast. Not the fastest ever, but pretty fast. 960. So I'm a little bit at a loss, I'm afraid to say, because number one, you got Acro Plus active, and it means that the PIDs are not doing necessarily what I expect them to do. The motors are sort of doing their own thing. You have a very high rotational rate, 900 degrees per second. That's not like super high. How many, 900 divided by 360 is 2.5 turns per second. That's pretty reasonable. You should be able to tune that. But, and we can see that the motor's maxing out, which is certainly, anytime you're running out of authority, you're going to get unwanted effects, because all these other motors have to slow down to keep the copter stable. So what I do wonder, though, is I do notice that this motor maxed out, but this one didn't. So I do wonder whether you're losing authority because one of these motors is generating less thrust than the other. So let's check your motor's traces to see if they are roughly together most of the rest of the time, or if the yellow one is consistently running higher. And it isn't, so that's fine. That's not the issue. It's just some artifact of your roll that caused that motor to spin up the fastest. There's another one. And we see the same thing again. As soon as you start returning the stick from full deflection, immediately the two right-hand motors go to full to slow the move down. This is too strong of a correction, and then the PID sum has to counter that, but it's too late. The damage has already been done. So if I was going to try to focus on this tuning, I would try to figure out why this correction is coming in so fast from the moment, look at your deflection is 514, whatever that is. That's full deflection, obviously. The moment you drop it at all, boom, there's this big response from the motors. And it feels to me, and unfortunately I don't know what the underlying logic of Acro Plus is well enough to say with confidence, but it feels to me like while you have full deflection, the PID sum is kind of getting decoupled more extremely from the output of the mixer. And at the moment you remove the stick from full deflection, even the littlest bit, notice that the P-term goes way negative. It's like, oh, holy crap, I gotta stop this quickly. And these motors go, boom, full positive, okay? Now the PID sum has been hugely negative, or the P-term has been hugely negative this whole time and has been having no effect. And notice that the motors have not been responding. And that's what Acro Plus does, is it decouples the PID sum from the mixer. And so it seems to me like the minute you come back from full deflection, the PID sum is recoupled to the mixer, and the motors try and sort of undo this huge correction that they've been failing to do, been prevented from doing because of Acro Plus. So, unfortunately, I just don't have enough knowledge of how Acro Plus is supposed to look. Thank you for submitting this. After 10 more people do, then I will. know how it's supposed to look. But for now, I just can't tell whether this is abnormal. But I gotta say, anything that results in the motors doing this is going to result in bad flight characteristics. This sudden huge spike, that's going to result in bad flight characteristics. So if that's how it's supposed to work, then I think it isn't working right. So something isn't right, either with your tune or maybe with the underlying Acro Plus logic. I don't know. But if you want to focus on your tune, focus on figuring out what you need to do to get rid of this sudden huge spike as you release the stick from full deflection. And then this rebound, I think, is largely the result of that. Yeah, because notice that as soon as the as soon as the P-term starts having an effect, the motors go to full, the copter begins stopping the move, and it immediately drops off and actually tries to counter it and accelerate the move again. So there's this huge reaction that slows the copter down too much, and then there's this huge counter reaction that actually causes it to rebound. The I term is not having anything to do with it, though. So some people who are not understand how Boris has changed the I term will say, oh, your I term is winding up causing rebound. Look, the I term is 0 this whole time. This is 100% P and D, but mostly P and the relationship of P to Acro Plus. So maybe people will weigh in who know more than me, who will say what's going on right at this here seems to be the key moment to me. The moment when your stick leaves full deflection and these motors jam basically to 100%, trying to stop the move. And that is an overreaction that then results in a cascade of effects that results in rebound. That's what I say. Also, see if you tweak your D gain or maybe lower your P gain on roll a tiny bit to get rid of some of this oscillation at higher throttle. It may be that you're very much on the edge of overtuned, or maybe slightly over the edge of overtuned. And I don't know, but it could be that if you tweak that a little bit, lower that a little bit, that you'll end up somehow affecting this in a positive way. Worth a try. Hope that was helpful. Happy flying.